When I made my recent video, One Answer for Veritas, I was deliberately being both terse and oblique. I made the claim that if I died and came before God, I would have nothing to say to Him and listen to nothing He had to say to me. I said I would do this without any sort of resentment or bitterness, but simply with a sense of resignation. And I was hoping to leave things a little enigmatic in that way, so you guys could sort of interpret it as you like. I'm starting to think that may have been a bit of a mistake. A fairly large number of people were either baffled by my claim, misconstrued what I had said, or simply thought I was posturing. Many people insisted that, contrary to my disclaimer at the beginning of the video, that I was bitter and spiteful towards God. What other reason could I have for turning my back on His infinite love, wisdom, and grandeur? So please, allow me to elucidate. To be sure, if God condemned me to hell, I most certainly would resent Him for it. I would hope that I could live up to my namesake and embrace a righteous indignation at the tyrant who condemns people to infinite suffering for finite sin. I think that I can imagine myself happy in such a circumstance, content with the knowledge that I was right. A perfectly loving and just being most certainly does not exist. But that's not what I took Veritas to be asking. He didn't ask us to suppose we died and end up in hell, but rather that we died and ended up before God. He wanted to know what we would say to God, to which I answered nothing. And here is why. If I found myself before God, I would say nothing to Him because what would be the point? There's nothing I could say to Him that He wouldn't already know. There would be no defense or justification of my life that I could offer that would in any way change Him or His relationship to me. How can you converse with such a being? How can you have any kind of dynamic interaction at all? And furthermore, why would anyone want to? God has nothing to learn from me, and I have nothing I could impart to Him. Such a relationship is, per force, a one-way street. But why then would I not listen to what He has to say? Why would I not want to benefit from His grace and wisdom? After a lifetime of asking questions, wouldn't I want to finally know the answers? Wouldn't my curiosity, if nothing else, compel me to sit beside the Master? In a word, no. There was a time in my life when I thought what I wanted more than anything else was the answers, the truth, a solution to life, the universe, and everything. Today, however, I find such a disposition not only naive, but dangerous. It's not that I'm afraid to be proven wrong. Quite the opposite, in fact. I fear the prospect of entering into a state in which I could never be proven wrong. To have all the answers, to know everything, means one is unable to learn anything. Like I've said before, quoting Tom Stoppard, I don't want the answers to be in the back of the book. I love learning. I love discovering new things. I love trying to find the answers. I love that more than I love the answers themselves. I've committed my life to the pursuit of wisdom and understanding. I've made considerable sacrifices in exchange for fairly modest achievements. But I take pride in those achievements, for they are my own. I have earned them through long hours of investigation and contemplation, and I relish them. I consider them constitutive of a life well spent. And if I continue to pursue these ends, and invest myself in this pursuit for however much time I may have left on this earth, I believe that when I find myself on my deathbed, I will be able to look back at my life and say, with as much honesty as I can muster, that was a life worth living. But if it so happens that I die and then come before an all-knowing God, I could not help but be disappointed. As it turns out, I didn't need to sacrifice. I didn't need to struggle. I didn't need to work for those meager accomplishments at all. The only thing I had to do was die, and God would have all the answers for me. I might as well have spent my life on the couch watching SpongeBob SquarePants for all the difference it makes in the end. So that is why I would turn my back on God. Because that would be the only testimony that I could give to the value of my life. That would be the only way I could preserve a sense of meaning, a modicum of significance to my time here on earth. Anything else would be to admit that I may as well have not lived at all. In comparison with the glory and grandeur of God, my life and endeavors may be trivial, petty, and stupid, but they are mine, and I would not surrender that for any salvation imaginable. You can keep your heaven. I have no use for it. To paraphrase Dostoevsky, if the surrender of my life makes up the sum of what is necessary for the purchase of truth, then I say beforehand that the entire truth is not worth such a price. We cannot afford to pay so much for admission. It is not God that I do not accept. I merely, most respectfully, return him the ticket.